A white line cuts across the cold, gray Atlantic. It is a trail of compressed air and deadly purpose, a ghost beneath the waves. At the end of this line, a live torpedo churns through the water, its warhead packed with hundreds of pounds of high explosive. In its path, a titan of steel, the USS Iowa, the most powerful battleship on Earth. And on its deck, watching the drills with a seasoned eye, stands the President of the United States. The date is November 14, 1943. The world is engulfed in the flames of the Second World War. From the shattered cities of Europe to the remote islands of the Pacific, humanity is locked in a struggle for its very soul. Deep in the nerve center of the Allied war effort, a secret journey is underway. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, his body frail but his will forged in iron, is crossing the Atlantic for a clandestine meeting with Churchill and Stalin. His chariot is the magnificent USS Iowa, a floating fortress of angled armor and colossal guns. Sunlight glints off the barrels of its 16-inch cannons, each capable of hurling a shell the weight of a small car over 20 miles. The ship's crew moves with crisp, practiced efficiency, their faces etched with the gravity of their mission. They are a shield for the leader of the free world. But they are not alone. Cutting through the Iowa's wake is a formation of smaller, leaner ships. Destroyers, the greyhounds of the sea. Among them is the USS William D. Porter, a brand-new Fletcher-class destroyer, its gray paint still fresh, its crew eager. Too eager. The ship, affectionately, or perhaps ominously nicknamed the Willie D., seems to sail under a dark star. Its short career is already a catalog of blunders. Leaving port, its anchor, improperly secured, drops from its housing. It drags across the deck of a sister ship, tearing away railings, life rafts, and the dignity of its captain. A day later, during a training exercise, a depth charge, armed and ready, simply rolls off the deck. It plunges into the sea and detonates beneath the convoy. The colossal explosion sends a shockwave through the water, rattling the hulls of every ship, including the Iowa. The entire task force lurches, convinced they are under attack by a German U-boat. On the bridge of the Willie D., a young ensign looks at his captain, his face pale. A cold dread begins to settle in the hearts of the crew. This ship feels wrong. But now, in the middle of the vast ocean, there is a chance for redemption. The President, a Navy man himself, wants a show. He wants to see the power he commands. He sits in his wheelchair on the Iowa's starboard deck, a blanket across his lap, a faint smile playing on his lips. The destroyers are ordered to conduct a full-scale drill. Anti-aircraft balloons are released into the sky, little black dots against the endless gray. The guns of the fleet open up, their staccato bark echoing across the waves. Puffs of black smoke blossom in the air as gun crews work in a frantic, coordinated dance. Aboard the William D. Porter, the crew performs flawlessly. Their guns track and fire, their aim is true. Pride swells in the captain's chest. Perhaps the curse is broken. Now comes the final phase of the demonstration. A simulated torpedo attack targeting the Iowa itself. The torpedo room of the Willie D. is a cramped space of steel, pipes, and the faint smell of oil. Young torpedo men stand by their launch tubes, awaiting the order. The procedure is simple. They simulate the launch, but the crucial explosive primer, the device that actually ejects the torpedo, must be removed first. It's a drill. Nothing is supposed to leave the ship. On the bridge, the captain, Wilfred A. Walter, gives the order. A series of commands echo through the ship's internal communication system. In the torpedo room, a sailor's hand moves with practiced speed. Tube 1, primer removed. Tube 2, primer removed. Tube 4, primer removed. But a young torpedo man, his mind perhaps clouded by the excitement or the pressure, forgets tube number 3. A small, brass cylinder remains seated in the firing mechanism. A tiny fatal oversight. On the bridge, the final command is given. Fire. A loud clang echoes as the simulated launch sequence engages. Another clang. Then, from the starboard side of the destroyer, comes a sound that does not belong. A deafening metallic whoosh. Every head on the bridge whips around. Their eyes widen in collective, sickening horror. A long, dark shape, a Mark 15 torpedo, leaps from its tube. It hits the water with a tremendous splash and straightens its course. Its propellers bite into the sea, churning a trail of pure white foam. Its destination, the midship section of the USS Iowa. For a frozen second, there is only silence. The impossible sight of a live torpedo streaking toward the President of the United States. Then chaos erupts. Panic grips the bridge of the William D. Porter. They have to warn the Iowa. But strict radio silence is in effect. Breaking it would reveal the president's location to every enemy submarine in the Atlantic. The signalman grabs a lamp, his hands trembling. He begins flashing a warning message. But in his haste, he flashes the wrong signal. He tells the Iowa that the Willie D is going in reverse. The Iowa's crew looks on, confused. The torpedo continues its deadly run. Another frantic attempt with the signal lamp. This time, the message is even worse. It reads that a torpedo is in the water, but it's headed away from the Iowa in the opposite direction. Time is running out. Captain Walter makes a desperate choice. Damn the protocol. He grabs the radio handset. His voice, strained with terror, screams into the microphone. "Lion, lion, come right." On the bridge of the Iowa, the message is received with disbelief. An officer dismisses it as a prank. But the desperate, terrified voice from the Willie D screams again. "Torpedo in the water. Lion, come right. Emergency." An alarm bell, shrill and insistent, finally clangs across the decks of the Iowa. General quarters. Horns blare. Men scramble to their battle stations. The battleship's massive engines roar as it begins a hard, emergency turn. The great ship lists, its deck tilting at a steep angle. Its own guns, all of them, swing around and lock onto the William D. Porter. On the Iowa, they believe it is no accident. This is an assassination attempt. On the deck, a Secret Service agent draws his pistol, ready to shoot the torpedo out of the water. But President Roosevelt remains calm. He turns to an aide, a hint of excitement in his voice. He asks to be wheeled over to the ship's railing. He wants to watch. Back on the Willie D, Captain Walter makes one last, hopeless gamble. If they can't stop the Iowa, maybe they can stop their own torpedo. He orders the deck guns to open fire on the speeding weapon. Shells splash into the ocean, bracketing the white wake, but never finding their mark. Is a fool's errand. The torpedo is too fast, too small. It closes the distance with terrifying speed. The crew of the William D. Porter can only watch, their careers, their lives, and the fate of the war hanging by a thread. For minutes pass. An eternity of cold, silent dread. Then a massive column of water erupts from the sea. The torpedo, its run complete, detonates in the turbulent wake of the turning Iowa. The force of the explosion buffets the huge battleship, but the thick armor of its hull is untouched. The president is unharmed. A wave of relief washes over both crews. It is immediately followed by a chilling sense of reckoning. Silence falls across the water, broken only by the hum of the engines. The USS Iowa slows, its guns still trained on the small destroyer. A signal lamp flashes from its bridge. The message is cold and clear. The William D. Porter is ordered to break from the convoy and proceed to Bermuda. When it arrives, the ship is met not by a welcoming party, but by a detachment of armed Marines. The entire vessel is placed under arrest. Every member of the crew, from the captain to the lowest-ranking seaman, is taken into custody. It is the first and only time in the history of the United States Navy that an entire ship's company has been arrested. The investigation is swift and severe. Interrogators grill the crew, searching for a conspiracy, a plot, a traitor. But all they find is the truth. A story of a brand new ship, a green crew, and one sailor's simple, catastrophic mistake. The torpedo man who forgot to remove the primer confesses immediately, accepting his fate. The case goes all the way to the top, to the desk of the man who was nearly killed. But Franklin D. Roosevelt, understanding the immense pressure of war and the reality of human error, intervenes. He asks that no punishment be meted out. The crew is released, but they are not forgiven by the fleet. The story of their blunder spreads like wildfire through the Navy. The USS William D. Porter becomes a legend, a punchline. Wherever the ship goes, it is greeted with jeers. Other ships signal them with a new, unofficial motto. Don't shoot, we're Republicans. The crew of the Willie D carries this shadow of shame for the rest of the war. They serve with a grim determination, forever known as the ship that almost assassinated the president. They fought bravely, but could never outrun the story of that one fateful November day when a single, forgotten primer nearly changed the course of history. Tell me your favorite war story I should talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.